Hello everyone, can you hear me? Okay, perfect. So, welcome, welcome to this live. I'm very sorry if you don't hear me very well. I was sick the last week, so I hope it will be well for me today. So let me start by introducing myself. So welcome to this session. So for the Fabric Data Day, it's about the taming the bills, how to monitor and manage capacity in Fabric. So just before to start, let me introduce myself. So my name is Dominic. I'm working as a data and AI team leader for Devo team in Luxembourg. I'm also since 2 years I'm MCT. Since this year I was promoted super users. I get all Microsoft Fabric certification. I'm also work as a project manager, so I got the PMP a few years ago. I also this year decided to start my blog, so datamonster.lu. For the moment, I've got article in French and in English, but the idea at the end would be to have the same amount in article in French and in English. If you want to send me a connection request on LinkedIn, you can scan this QR code. And also a special thanks to Microsoft for this opportunity, because without that, I think I never start to make a video. So probably I will continue to post some video from time to time on my YouTube channel. Okay, so we can start to dig in the topic. So this is the agenda of today. So the idea will be to first to dig a little bit on to understand what is the smoothing, the throttling, also what is the capacity. Um, After that, we will have a deep dive on the metric app and a small one on FUAM. And after that, I will give you some clue how to make your analysis of your workflow, and then how to put a strategy in place. Because once again, here the idea is just to take some after this session to take some output, and you could apply that in your day-to-day work. So I guess some of you work with Azure and for the data part, because Fabric has only 2 years, 2 years. But a few years ago, when you have to set up something in Azure, it can be pretty tough. Why? Because you have to set up everything. You have to create the database. You have to create the storage. You have to monitor Synapse. You have to be careful because, as you know, when you work with Synapse, you have to pay for each query. So each query means you have a cost. So with all of this constraint, it was very hard to start a data platform. Since Fabric was a fundamental shift. Why? Because Fabric put everything within a single compute pool. So it's not like in other platform. Here you have just your single pool. So it's a CU for compute unit. We'll see it in detail. But from data engineering to Power BI, everything run on the same engine. So here you don't have to provision, you just have your CU, and if your CU is enough, you don't have to buy more. But with that, you are you are facing a pretty weird issue, because it's very simple in purchase. Yes, because as after that I will just show you, because we'll increase the capacity, but it's just a click. So in Fabric you make a few clicks just to have the capacity. But after that, to manage the capacity, it can be a nightmare, because you have to be careful with all the settings. You have to be careful with the load. You have to your team has to be aware to how Fabric works. Because for my side, I remember the first time we work on Fabric. After 1 week, we killed the capacity, and so during 24 hours, nothing was working. And this step scared me a little bit. So since that, I decided to start to dig a little bit to understand how Fabric worked. And this is the purpose of this live. It's just to share with you what I learned since 2 years I'm working with Fabric. So this is a case that I guess some people know. You create your new data platform on Fabric. You build you build your medallion architecture, so your bronze, your silver, your gold, everything is perfect. You build a wonderful pool for the management. Everyone is happy. And a day, your boss call you and say, Dominic, we have an issue. When I tried to open this morning, my report was very slow to open. It took more than 30 seconds. And now, when I try to see my report, I got this error message. What can I do? What's happened? Because it was working yesterday, we changed nothing. What's the issue? And this is due to it's a capacity issue. And if you can understand the throttling, the smoothing, and the bursting, you can avoid this kind of issue. So just before to start to dig a little bit deeper, so here when we speak about capacity, so F2, F4, F8, F16, it's for example F2, it means you have two CU. So a CU is an abstract measure for building CPU, memory, and input output. Just the memory, it's a separate bill. I don't remember the price for 1 GB, but it's pretty cheap. So, for example, if you have an F64, you have 64 CU available, so it means 64 CU per second. So on the day, you have this amount of CU. So this is how it works. And just a quick reminder, if you have a F64 capacity or higher, you don't need to buy license to see Power BI report. If you have a smaller report, all of your users we need to build and to read report must have a license. So sometimes for some organization, it's cheaper to take an F64 just to have the free. I put some quote the free license. So then we have another not issue, but you have two kind of license. You have the pay as you go, and you have the reserve capacity. So the pay as you go, as the name mentioned, you pay at the usage. So if you let your capacity turn during 2 hours, you will have to pay for 2 hours. And after that, you have the reserve capacity. The reserve capacity, it's a 1 year commitment. So it means you couldn't reduce the cost. So for example, if you decided to take a capacity of an F2, it's more or less $200. You have to pay $200 per year. So you couldn't reduce this amount. But the good point with that, you will have a discount of 40%. And for the pay as you go here, you can make some saving with by starting and stopping the capacity. But for that, you have also some issue because if you are smoothing, you can face some issue. We'll see that a little bit later. And for the last thing, but don't remember at the end we will see a more deep detail about the pay as you go and the reserve. But the flexibility, the pay as you go, it's the perfect thing to build a proof of concept or for the dev, the testing. And the reserve capacity, it's more for your production. For example, you're a big company, you have people in all countries in the world. The reserve capacity is a good choice because your capacity will always running. Or for example, you're working in a small company, but you know your boss will need to check some reports during the weekend or during the after I don't know after 11 o'clock. You couldn't stop this capacity. So depending of the choice, for sometimes the capacity. So it's not. And the last thing also, when you take a pay as you go or a reserve instance, you can also apply this rule of thumb. If your capacity is up more than 60% of the time, take a reserve instance is a better choice than a pay as you go. You can also, so there's just a small nuance we'll see later. You can when you reserve a capacity, you can scaling up and you can scaling down. But if you're scaling down, you will scale it below, but you won't reduce your capacity. If you're scaling up, you will pay for your reservation plus an extra capacity as a pay rate. So these two nuances has to be keep in mind because we'll see that in more detail when your capacity is throttling, how you can fix this issue. So just to help you to understand, I decided to make an analogy with a supermarket. Why I decided to take a supermarket because it's more visual. It will help you to understand what is the purpose. So we will imagine our fabric capacity as a supermarket. So the more CU we have, bigger will be the supermarket. So we can say an F2 is a tiny corner shop, and an F64 is an hypermarket like a Walmart. So After that, we have two kind of customer. We have the customer who come and to make the grocery shop with a basket. So this kind of customer we can consider as an interactive operation, because in Fabric there is two kind of operation. There are interactive operation and background operation. So the interactive operation is the on-demand request. So it's triggered by user. So for example, if you check a report, if you apply some slicer, if you make some web modeling, if you run some ad hoc query in DAX, all of this kind of thing will be an interactive operation. So we can for this analogy, we will compare that as a basket. Then you have the background operation. The background operation, it's the heavier operation. For example, schedule a semantic model, running a data pipeline, using Copilot and also the Fabric data agent. It's on a background operation. And it's also the case for the Dataflow. If, for example, if you run some Dataflow Gen 2, it's a background operation. So it's very important to keep that in mind, because when you will reach the throttling, you will have different case. Depending if you make some interactive operation or background operation, some of them can work, but not the other. But we'll see that in detail just a little bit later. So then we have two very important thing to understand. It's a smoothing. So what is the smoothing? The smoothing, it's average CPU consumption over 24-hour rolling window for the background operation. So if you decided to refresh a pretty heavy data set, be careful, because it won't be instantaneous, so you won't see a peak, but this consumption will be smooth on 24 hours. So you could have some joke if you decided to make a very heavy operation, and your capacity can be only down the day after, so 12 hours later, because if the people start to interact a lot with the report, and some people also decided to refresh the report, you could have some throttling with a big delay due to that. And for the sorry, I forgot the name, for the operation sorry, and for the interactive operation, it's the opposite. For the interactive operation, it's it's 5 minutes of smoothing. So the goal of the smoothing is just to flatten the spike workload. So with the smoothing, you won't have this big spike. We'll see that in a few minutes. I will show you on my screen with in Fabric. Then the goal of the smoothing is to reduce the throttling. So if you, by smoothing your operation, you have less chance of throttling your capacity, and also with that you can enable scheduled job run simultaneously without conflict. But once again, you have to be careful with that, because you will have to pay later. And what is the bursting? So the bursting, Fabric allow you to use more compute that provision for fast performance. So for example, if you have an F2, if you burst your F2 capacity, you can go higher. If I remember well, it's 10 times, but I will share with you the link. On the Microsoft documentation, you have everything with the bursting. So it enables smaller capacity to handle large operation, and it's a short life boost that allow you to make very heavy operation on a small capacity. But with great power mean you have great responsibility. So be careful with the bursting and the smoothing. So just to continue our analogy on the supermarket, we can see the smoothing like when you go in a supermarket, not all the cashier shop are open. So you see, instead of having one customer everywhere, we will put all of our customer in one line. So we can see that like a smoothing. So instead of having some peak, we'll flatten the consumption of the capacity. And for the bursting, it's in your supermarket, you have 4 queue. But for example, for Black Friday, you decided to open tomorrow to absorb the amount of customer, and just to avoid to have a very long line in your supermarket, to have some happy customer. So here, sorry, no. And after that, we have the throttling. So what is the throttling? The throttling is when you reach the maximum of your capacity. You have too much customer in your supermarket, and your cashier shop couldn't follow the cadence. And here you will face some issue. And this is the kind of issue you will face. There is 4 times of throttling. There is the average protection. So when you make some bursting, you can borrow more capacity. If you borrow more than 10 minutes of capacity, job can consume 10 minutes of further capacity without throttling. So in this case, there's no issue. When you overlap this amount of 10 minutes, in this case, the issue start. What can the first issue is your new interactive job will be delayed by 20 seconds. So when you will open the report, it will take 20 seconds to load the data. So you will see the message saying loading data. So you have to wait 20 seconds before to be able to open the report. After that, between 10 and 60 minutes, we're in the interactive delay. If you borrow more than 60 minutes, you will land in the interactive rejection. So it means all interaction with your report will be rejected. So you won't be able to open report. You won't be able to modify data model. All of this kind of interaction will be blocked. And if your capacity landing is higher than 24 hours, all requests, including refresh and background operation, will be rejected. So it means until you didn't pay back your debt, you won't be able to make any action on Microsoft Fabric. So you have to be careful with that, because I will show you after that on the on my tenant. I made some tests yesterday, and I was stuck in 24 hours background rejection. So when you are facing a throttling, what you can do? There is a few strategy you can take. The first one is the easiest one. You can wait. So you have to wait more or less 24 hours, and after 24 hours, you will reimburse your debt to Microsoft. And so in this case, you can start to reuse your capacity. The other one, it's a pause and resume. So if you pause your capacity and you resume your capacity, you will pay your debt directly. So it means it will calculate all the consumption you made, and you will have to pay this amount, but you could directly use your capacity. So you won't have to wait. You can use it directly after that. The other one, it's the scale up your SKUs. For example, if you are using an F16 and you see, okay, I have an issue, I'm throttling, I don't want to throttling, you can increase your capacity during a few hours just to go to below the level, and then in this case you would be able to use your capacity back. Another one is switch to another capacity. Something you could do, because for example, if you have some critical dashboard, you have some critical report, the people must use this report. What you can do, if you didn't use all of your trial, you can create a trial capacity. So you will have an F64 for 60 days, if I remember well. And yes, I guess it's 60 days. And you can use this capacity, or you can buy a smaller capacity and just to protect that. And to avoid this kind of issue, there is two things. You have the surge protection, and you can also put some alert if you reach a specific level. So just before to continue, I will show you a little bit on my computer how it looks. So here I'm going on my Fabric capacity, and yes, I will just to show you, because I kill my capacity. So I will just try to open a report. So it's this report, and you see here, I'm unable to load the model due to reaching the capacity limit. Okay, so I will just show you in the capacity metric, but I will explain it a little bit later, but it's just to make something different than just to show you some slide. So I will open the capacity metric. I didn't refresh it, but I know what is the issue. So I go just here and compute. So don't worry, I will explain you just a little bit after what is the issue is. So yeah, it's not very reactive. So sometimes you have to wait a few seconds before to see the data. So here I just apply a filter on the month, and you see here, if you look, I'm higher than this line. So it means I'm not able to use my capacity. So what I will do, I will increase. So I will use the strategy of increase my capacity to be able to see my report. So to increase the capacity, it's pretty easy, but you need the access in Azure. So in Azure, you click on Microsoft Fabric. Ah, I'm not on the right account, sorry. So just let me use my the admin account. Ah, damn it, I don't have it. Okay, so I don't have access to the admin on this session, so won't be able to increase it. Okay, but normally here in the capacity, you have the button, you click on it, and you can increase the capacity. Okay, so I won't be able, but it's not an issue. I will just show you a little bit after what you can do. And also, I told you can put some security to avoid this kind of issue, so the throttling. So to do that, all the setting related to the capacity, you have to go in your admin portal. And here in your admin portal, you have the capacity settings. So here you have the fabric capacity. You click on your capacity, and here you have all the settings for this capacity. So it means for each capacity, you could put different settings. So you see here we have the disaster recovery, but the most important is here. The one I wanted to show you is here, the surge protection. So when the total CO consumption reach the rejected threshold, so in this case, you can block all background operation. So by doing that, you will be sure that you will be able to continue to use the interactive action, and with that, you can continue to see the report. But it means you won't be able to refresh the dataset. And the other one, the notification, it's here. So you can put some notifications, say if you use more than 65, 70, 75% of your capacity, you can get some notification. But be careful, this trigger will only be sent when you refresh your model. So if I set up here a notification and then I refresh my semantic model, so by doing that, and if I reach the specific amount, I will get the notification. So without refreshing, you are not able to see the issue. So it's kind of limitation. Okay, so just I have another slide to show you just before to start with the app. Okay, so what is the metric app? So it's a native build in Fabric tool for monitoring capacity consumption in real time. So it's not real time because you have to refresh. So you will see the CU you use. So you will see the usage over time. But it's very important because with that, you're able to see the smoothing. So with that, you will see the performance of your query. So you can track your query. You can see which query consume a lot of capacity. You will see also the percentage of throttling. And if you have some premium capacity, you will see the point. But here, I will show you a deep demo of what you can do with the Fabric capacity metric. So I switch my screen like that, yes. And so now first, I open the report. So you have all interesting information in the compute. So in the compute here on the left, this ribbon chart, honestly, I don't use very often. Why? Because you don't have a lot of useful information. For me, the only use of this visual is just to apply a slicer. If you click here on the month, so on the date, you will see your visual. So here we see the utilization of my capacity. So the 100%, if my total CU, you see I'm using an F8. So this line is for yes, this line is for my F8. And you see currently I'm a little bit upper. So here just to give you some useful information, but what's pretty important is here the throttling. If you click here, you can see the three kind of throttling. So we have the interactive delay. So once again, the interactive delay, it's mean it's block all interaction with Power BI. So you couldn't update a semantic model. You couldn't open a report. You couldn't. So you see here, I'm still upper. So this is why when I'm trying, no, sorry, here it's an interactive delay. So it just, when I try to open a report, it will be, I will have to wait 20 seconds before to see my report. After that, we have the interactive rejection. So this interactive rejection, it means each time you try to open a report, you won't be able to open the report. So you won't be able to wait. No, you will have the error message we had just before. And you see here, so it's yellow. When I was in this area, so with the light yellow, I was able to use my I was able to open my report. But after that, I decided to reduce my capacity, and this is why um, uh, I pass above. So just because I decided to reduce my capacity. Normally, I ran the big job yesterday around 10 o'clock. So normally in 1 hour and a half, I will be able to use my probably my fabric capacity like normal. So here you have the background rejection. So it's the same, but for the background information. So you see here until around yes 9 in this morning and 9 in Europe in Belgium, I was unable to make some background rejection to make some refresh of my semantic model. All of my background interaction was rejected. Another thing I would like to show you. I will just remove this filter. You see here we have this peak on the I think the 29. What is this peak? In fact, you have a peak like this one when you decided to stop your capacity. So you start a lot of background work. All of your work are done. So for example, you refresh your semantic model, everything worked perfectly. But when you stop the capacity, you have to pay everything in one shot. So you see here, you can see the total capacity I use and how much it's cost to reimburse that. So it means on my Azure subscription, automatically this a specific amount has been taken. So after that, we have also the average. So the average has the same purpose. So in this view, you can see where you are. So we'll just go on my Monday to apply the filter. You will understand it. You see here when you are here in green, you are adding some calculation. So you are smoothing. So all of these green interaction mean there's some background operation. So you are adding some depth. When you're not using your capacity at the maximum, you are in burn down. You see here the blue line, the blue area, it's mean I'm starting to reimburse Microsoft. So if once my red line is touching the zero axis, it mean you can start to reuse your fabric capacity as normal. And you see here, I was able to do that a little bit because I'm currently using an F8 and I think I upgraded to an F16, yes, F16 or F32 during 1 hour to increase the reimbursement of my capacity. And then here you have the system event. The system event is very useful to see when in which state you are. You see here, yesterday I reached the all rejected state. So then today at 8:32, I will go back in interactive rejection until 10. Then I will reach the interactive delay. After that, I was able, by increasing the capacity, to be not overload. So in this case, I was able to use Fabric as normal. After that, I reduced the capacity, so I was in interactive rejected, and I'm still in the interactive rejected. And another thing that is pretty useful when you're using Fabric, it's you can make some drill down. Oh, no, just before to make the drill down here, you can see what is consuming the more of CU. So if you let your mouse on this thing, you have here the small tooltip which appear, and it's giving you some information on the capacity. But once again, the report is not very performant. Okay, yes, another very useful thing you have to remember when you are creating the capacity app workspace, do not assign it to a fabric capacity. Why? Because if you're reaching the throttling, you won't be able to refresh your report. And also monitor this report, it means you will consume some capacity. It's maybe not a lot, but you will consume capacity. So you have to assign a pro license to this workspace just to avoid to consume capacity, or if your capacity is down, to be able to see the status. And you see here, you can see what is consumed the more. So now, if I want to see what's happening, for example, at this point, yes, another thing, all of this point, it's every 30 seconds, I've got a point. So I will just show you 2 cases. So the case when I'm in bursting and the case when I'm in smoothing. So I will go, sorry, not smoothing, in a burn down. So I will make a right click here, and here I have build through, and I have 2 points. So we'll go on the 10-point details. And here it's loading all the operation I performed. It performed during 30 seconds. So from A2 30 to A3, I have zero interactive operation indeed because I was all of my interactive was block. So as I was during this time, yeah, because I play a lot with the capacity, I switch from F2 to F4 to F16 to back to F4 to just to be able to see this demo. So in this at this moment, I was using an F2. No, normally it's an F4 because I have normally with an F2 you have 120 CU. Why? How I know that? Because the calculation it's you have two CU per second, so it's 30 seconds, so it's 60, sorry, because it's 2 times 30, so it means you have 60 CU. So I guess I was in F4, but it didn't update this point. So then what is very interesting, it's here. You see, I have nothing in the interactive operation, but here I see all the background operation and what's happening. So we see here I had my this one it's a Fabric data agent. So I was running some query. I ran this query yesterday, but once again the smoothing take 24 hours. So during 24 hours, this action was smooth. So we see here you see this action. So this data agent consume 1911 CUs in total. And what Microsoft did is smooth this interaction on 24 hours. So if you split this value by 24 by 60 and by 2, you will have this amount. And this amount represents 1% of my capacity. And the sum of everything, it's representing, I'm using 275% of my capacity. And here, the burn down is pretty useful because you can see if you are consuming or if you are remixing your debt. You see here, I was adding some capacity, so it means I was increasing my debt to Microsoft. And I will show you after that, but when you're in burn down here, the percentage will be had, and the minute to burn down will reduce. This amount is not very accurate. It's just to give you an idea. So if your boss told you when can I see back my report, you can give him an estimation, but it's not a very accurate answer. Why? Because if all of your background job was blocked, when the interactive job can be back, if some refresh has to be start, they will start, and so you will have some burn down back. So you have to be careful. Yeah, it's pretty overwhelming to fix this kind of issue. And here you can just switch the kind of visualization you need, and that's it. I will just show you the same for when you are reversing. So when you are reducing the value. So if I go here, I will go try to zoom. Here you see on the light blue again. Yes, and if you want to zoom out, zoom in, sorry, on this small amount that you don't see it very clearly, you can switch to logarithmic view. So in this case, with the logarithmic view, you will have a better view of the data. So you just have to be careful because now in logarithm it's not the same scale, but here you can select a point. So I will go on this one, I'll read through, and I will go on time point detail. Okay, so you see here, I was having some burn down, so I was starting to reimburse my debt. And here I see how much I use in my capacity. I was lower than 100%. So here in this case, I was starting to reimburse the consumption. I don't have, okay, I have to check why. Maybe, okay, maybe I was, okay, no, I was in the case where I was reimbursed my whole debt. You see here, I reach 0 because here no, I have no number here. I'm 000, and that's it. So in this case, I have this amount of background operation. So you see here, my interactive operation is empty. I will check if I can find some interactive operation just to show you. Go back here. Uh, can I click maybe on? I don't have it. No. Here. If I zoom a little bit, I can find it. I know because I'm still in logarithmic. Because I make some interactive today, but not a lot, so it's not possible. But it's exactly the same. But instead of being in no, so it's in utilization. Yes, if I'm not in the right one, I am not able to see it. Maybe here. I will switch to logarithm. So here it's just to show you the difference between, and so once again, when you're making some interactive job, the smoothing it's on 5 minutes. So this is why on the report, yeah, okay, we don't know, it's never mind, maybe no, okay. So just to remember, when you have some interactive operation, you will see some speak. Why? Because as the interactive operation it's running on 5 minutes instead of 24 hours, you will see more peak than with the background operation. So if you are seeing some red line, don't be scared. Maybe if I click here, I can. Okay, I don't have enough view. Data set. Okay, no, I don't have it. Never mind. But this is how you can use this capacity. So what is very important is that it's here. You can see what is consuming the most of your capacity. So indeed, this warehouse, I decided to make some very bad query yesterday. I had two table with 10 million line, and I make a join on the bad key. So it was a many to many relationship. So it was a nightmare. I execute this query 10 times, and this query run during 30 minutes and never send me back a result. And you see here, I'm still paying for this bad query. So you have also to educate your team about when you make a query in SQL. Always select the top 100. Always try to work on a reduced scope to avoid this kind of issue. Okay, I don't know if you have any question for the moment. I will have a look in the chat. Where the peak deviation of 30. Yeah, we'll see that a little bit later for how you can, what is the best advice. There is no a clear rule because once again, as a lot of thing with Fabric, it's depend. But we'll see that a little bit later of what you can do. So we'll just switch back to the slide. Okay, so what is the metric app limitation? Because as we see, there is a few limitation with the with the metric app. The first one, it's you don't have a persistent data. Indeed, if you look for the data in this app, you will have only between this depend of the setting you pass, but it's between 14 and 30 days of history. In my case, I have 14 days of history. So it doesn't correlate with the customer business. So it's mean it's harder to see in which workspace this issue is related. With the tool we'll see just after, it's better. And you can easily export audit for finance team. And also the metric app, it's only used for for the consumption. But for that, there's a solution called FUAM. So what is FUAM? FUAM is a tool developed by the community. It extracts the metric app data and store this data in the lakeouts. It will also read the activity log and it will retrieve a lot of information directly via the API. It's able to retrieve, for example, how many workspace, who access to the report the last month, and with that, you can not only track your capacity, you can also try to reduce to make some cleaning, and but after that we'll see some solution. So if okay. So here I have a few amps, so it's an open source, so we see that. It's very important because here, if you decided to install FUAM, here you have the GitHub link, so I can show you. So you follow the link, you will land on the okay, here I will just show you. It's not very complicated. I can show you fast how you can do that. No, no, here. Okay. So here, uh, I bind the bad shortcut. It's Control A, and indeed it's. So here, when you're on a GitHub of FUAM, you have all of the stuff you have to do, and here you have the guide. So you click here to deploy the FUAM, and you need it's explaining you how you have to do. You have to deploy. You have to download this Power BI this notebook. You will execute it. You have to create a service principal account, the workspace. You have to give the right setting, etc. And when you deploy it, you will have something. It's look like that. So if I go in my FUAM here, I will go in this view just to show you the spaghetti it gives. So when you execute the package, it will download, it will install all the pipeline, then you will have to execute the pipeline to retrieve all the information, and you will have some useful report. You have this report is useful and this one. Yes, maybe I can show you. We won't go deeper in FUAM as we did with capacity. The first, I don't have enough data. I saw only the last week that my previous I didn't have access to my previous capacity, so I have to create a new one. So this is why I don't have the access. But just here on this page, you have a lot of useful information. You can see how many refresh during the last 14 days. You can see how many workspace access. You can see how many user was connected on your Fabric tenant. You can see how many workspace. You have a lot and a lot of information. So if you go here in the capacity, you have more details, so you can see how many capacity you're using. You have the capacity overview, so you can see, and this one, when because after that we'll see some rules to select the right capacity for your team. With this view, you could have a very good point. It's better maybe to see the average on 14 days, but you could have an estimation. So you see here, because I make some very bad example, but I'm at 86% of the capacity. So it means my F16 could be enough. Yeah, with some optimization, it could be enough. But here, you have also to make a deeper analysis to try to ignore the outlier, because with the outlier you won't have the good data, so you will have some impact. So you have to very be careful when you use FRAM. It's very complete tools. So you have everything related to the capacity. You have also here the item overview, so you can see how many notebook, how many data pipeline, where there is. You have it's and my advice for that, because I did that for another customer. You can also create some more useful report, because here you have too much information, and probably in this information only a part of this information will be enough for your team or for you. So my advice for that would be create the report you need. So don't use all of this page, but create the report you need with this dataset. And it's a very useful one. With that, you can see everything. You have also the best practice analyzer. You have My advice would be, after this call, try to install FUAM. If you have some issue, don't hesitate to reach me on LinkedIn, and maybe I can help you. If you don't find the answer on the GitHub, I could help you to deploy it. It's definitely, this tool is a game changer. Okay, so once you have done your analysis in FUAM, sorry, I just have to drink. Okay, so when when you have done your analysis in FUAM, what you can do first, you can have a look under workspace. With this tool, you can see, for example, if you have, I don't know, many finance workspace, because in some organization with the data governance it's not clear. A lot of people create their own workspace, and so you have some duplicate. And as you know, if you have duplicate, it means you will duplicate the refresh of the dataset, and so it means you will consume some CU for the same work. So try to consolidate your workspace. So make a deep analysis to see who is doing the same job. Then maybe you can also pause your dev and test capacity outside of business hour. So if you need to pause your capacity, what I did, I create a job and I use a logic app in Azure to execute this job. So it's my test capacity start at 7 in the morning, and it's finish at 6 o'clock. And if I make a check also at 10 o'clock, because sometimes of people have to make some extra hours, stuff like that. So I just make a more check at 10 o'clock just to be sure that the capacity is close. Then this one is probably it's an easy one, but also a complicated one. It's right size the production capacity. So we will see just a slide for this point, but depending of the use of your capacity, if you see you are using your capacity at during the last 90 days at 50%, definitely you can go to the lower level, because as each time it's double, you can go to the lower level. The next action is a little bit more. It's more for the reduction of the cost of the storage. So the first one, you can clean all the workspace not accessed for 90 days. Maybe not to clean them, but because in Furam you can see who access to what. But maybe you can ask to the owner of this workspace if it's still in use. Maybe the owner leave the company and no one has access. So you have to see, okay, can I delete this item or not? Also, have a look on the data flow on auto refresh, but never consumed by the report, because with the citizen developer, a lot, like to make some data flow. And in terms of performance, Microsoft works on the data flow. So since the last FabCon in Vienna, the performance of the data flow is so much better, but it's still a capacity killer. So instead of data flow, do a store procedure, do a notebook, but try to avoid using data flow, except for the copy activity. It's pretty well optimized. Then you can also try to optimize the refresh scheduling. So what I mean by this point, try to make the schedule not all the refresh in the same time, just to avoid to burst. Because yes, indeed, if you burst your capacity, you will smooth it just after. But if you exceed a specific amount, as we see, if you consume more than 1 hour of the 24 hours of the capacity, all the background interaction will be killed. And if it's only 1 hour, all of the interactive action will be killed. So it means all of the people in your organization, so on this tenant, won't be able to see the Power BI report, and it can be a nightmare because, of course, with the Murphy law, this will happen at the beginning of the month during a closure, or at the end of the month when the management need the amount. So be careful with that and try to optimize the schedule. And then have a look on identify and move expanding workload to pay as you go. Why? Imagine you have some very consuming operation, like one workspace consume 40% of the capacity, but only 2 days a week. For example, finance, months, and closure. So, for example, you have a data science team run experiment weekends only. For example, they work 6 or 8 hours per month. Your marketing run ad-hoc analysis every month, once per month. So you see, you have a lot of this small action that consume a lot of your capacity, but they are not used very often. So in this case, it can make sense to discuss with your management, with the CFO, to say, okay, maybe we could take pay-as-you-go capacity just for this case. But once again, with Fuam, you can see all of that, and this tool can help you to optimize. So now, how you can optimize your capacity. So in this case, oh, okay, I don't have my webcam. Oh, it's too late, but I know for tomorrow. Sorry, I see I don't have my webcam on the slide. So when you need to optimize the capacity, pull the metric app data. So as I show you for the last 30 or 60 days. And why find a 95% percentile? It's just to ignore the one-time spike. So why? Because the one-time spike, it can be test, it can be purpose, it can be an issue, it can be a lot of things. Then you can add a buffer between 20 or 30% of the buffer. The idea of this buffer is just to have some target capacity. If you know your organization need to increase, need to add more data, always keep a buffer. Then choose your SKU. I will show you just after how you can do that. But if you analyze a peak, you split it by 30 and you will have the amount you need. Then choose your SKU. And don't forget, for example, if you realize you need an F80, You don't have to buy a F128. What you can do, you can buy an F64 and a F16, and after that, you just have to it's a little bit more work, but after that, you, for example, just put the F16. My advice would be to put the F16 for the lot of interactive report and for a small workload, just to don't buy too much capacity. Don't forget you can split the capacity, and for that, a lot of companies don't know that. Very often, when a customer, for example, they have a F64, not because they need a pro license, but because the F32 was too short. But by taking a F32 plus an F8, it was enough. And after that, the last advice would be to consider between a reserved or a pay-as-you-go capacity. Once again, no clear rule, just if you use more than 40, if your capacity is up more than 60% of the time, take a reserve capacity because you have a bigger amount of resource. So when and how to pause the capacity. So this strategy is pretty easy to understand. Pause the capacity if you have in dev and test, not in production. If it's seasonal workload, so so once again, just the purpose of the pausing is for the pair as you go, because if you are in reserve, if you pause your capacity, it's useless because you will have to pay, but you won't be able to use your capacity. Your capacity. The only point where it's useful to pause uh, reserve capacity is you have an throttling, you have an your background interaction block. So in this case, by pausing and resuming your capacity, you will reimburse your debt in one shot. So in this case, it can make sense, but it's the only reason why you should stop reserved capacity. And of course, if you offer a guarantee, your boss won't have to see this report Saturday at midnight. You don't want to get a report from him. If you know no one will check the report, use the daily hour. And never pause the capacity in mid-job. For example, if you have some pipeline running, never pause your capacity at this moment because you could have some data corruption risk. So this one is more in SQL. Also, when the production, when if your team split the workload on the right balance, so in this case, don't pause the capacity. Also, if you're once again, if you're in the reserve run, don't pause it, and do an activity pipeline. So it's the same. You could also have some corruption risk, or you can stop a job. For example, you delete an SQL table and you stop at this moment. So it means all of the data will be gone, and when you will resume it, nothing will be in the table. So this small cheat is just to helping you to see what can be the how it can be easy to save some capacity. So with the data flow, very often with the data flow, what you have to do is to filter the data because a lot of people, when they build the report, because it's a citizen developer, they said, okay, I need all of that. I need all of my filter. I need all of my data because we never know. If the answer is we never know, yes, you have to clean your data set. You have to apply some filter. You have to reduce the data set. You have to remove some column. You have to reduce it. And generally the data flow, it's the easiest thing to put in place, and it's a big savings. Then you have the Spark job. The Spark job is a little bit higher. You can reduce the cluster. You see you're using a too powerful cluster. You can reduce it, use the right compression. For the pipeline, you can parallelize your rogue, you can operation in batch, and also what is very useful in the pipeline if you are using, because for me, I do a lot of pipeline in store procedure. Um, don't avoid to make some truncate and refill the table, but use merge because now, as you know, the data warehouse support the merge operation. So for the Power BI directory, switch to import. Why? Because the import mode use more if you can, because of course for some report people need the near real-time data. But if you can switch to import, switch to import. And one very best good thing with the import, if you are connected to a data warehouse and you are in import mode, if you stop the capacity, all the data will be stored in the semantic model, so it won't need to read the data. So if you refresh a semantic model using the data warehouse to update, you won't have any issue. Why? Because as the data has been loaded in the semantic model, you don't need to have the connection with the data warehouse. So for the import, try to reduce the refresh if you can. And for the notebook, profile code for inefficient, so try to optimize the code. But for me, because I'm not very good and familiar with Python and PySpark, the notebook and the Spark job are probably the most difficult task, but I have to my coworker who have good experience with tools like Databricks to have a look on the code. Okay, so just this one is just a kind of roadmap to helping you to see how you can optimize your capacity. First, make an audit. So pull the metric up on the last 30 days. So make an analysis, install FUAM, and identify the top the top five cost driving operation. So look which operation is consuming the more power. Then investigate. Deep dive into each operation. What it is expensive? Is it necessary? Can I optimize? Can I optimize? For example, find quick win, pausing dev capacity, things inefficient data flow. So then, once you identify the quick win, implement them. So don't implement all of them in one, but implement them one or two and check, measure the result. And after that, when you have do that, you continue. So when you optimize the capacity, okay, you will analyze what is now the top five cost driving operation, and you continue to optimize like that. And with this kind of measure, you will work in more iterative way, and you will see the result pretty fast. And here, this one is just a governance just to help you. So weekly, honestly, at the beginning, I check it daily, but now I know my capacity. But weekly, check the metric app for throttling event just to be sure that you don't see any throttling. Monthly, analyze the cost trend. So what I call by the cost trend, first, if you have to resume the capacity because you make some throttling, also there is another package very useful. It's called it FCA for I think it's financial cost analysis. It's also tools developed by the community, and with this one, it will give you the cost of all action you are making in Fabric. So it can help you to discuss with more financial data set. But here the idea is just to see every month if you have some new cost driving operation. And if you have new cost driving operation, you go back in the previous framework and you optimize it. Then quarterly, your capacity, you can make some review meeting just to check with the admin and finance if we are still aligned. For example, the finance can say you, okay, we will need more capacity, or some people will say, no, the next month we'll have a migration, just to be sure that your capacity is enough. If you don't have to increase the size just to avoid the throttling. And my advice is annually make a full capacity audit and renegotiate reserve capacity commitment, because maybe you will need a bigger capacity, or you can reduce the capacity because you apply the good rules, you apply the good data governance, you all of your team are aware of how to optimize the data set. So in this case, you can renegotiate the reserve capacity. And then just who is responsible for that. So daily Fabric admin, so the Fabric admin will monitor the metric app. Monthly, so it's more the data lead and the finance, so just to cost review. And quarterly, but once again, this stuff will depend on the kind of organization and if your organization is mature in terms of data. Because I don't know, but in Europe, a lot of companies are not yet totally mature on data topics. So maybe this framework is a little bit too much. So what I would like also, for this session. So if you have any question, do not hesitate to put them in the chat. My once again, I would like to, and also if you have some feedback for me, don't hesitate to put them in the chat. It's the first time I did these exercises, so with my else it was not most optimized, because I would like to fine tune my slide, but I didn't have time. But I would like to thank Microsoft for this opportunity. Tomorrow I will do the same session in my mother tongue, so in French. And once again, if you would like to follow the DP 600 or the DP 700 certification, do not hesitate to take the exam before the 31st of December by scanning this QR code. Sorry, the voucher is a little bit too late. I'm very sorry. I will have a look in the chat. Just switch my camera. No. Okay, so after watching this, can you edit the metric app semantic model and create your? Yes, you can create your own report You can create your own report also in FUAM. Or is it to have multiple capacity? Does it? No, to have multiple capacity don't interrupt the work. I can show you how you can switch. You see, I will go here on my in which one I will go in Fabric. I know because this one is a bad example because I'm using some data agent, so I won't be able to use it because it's a tree. But to switch the capacity, you go in your workspace setting, license info, and here you can just select another one. You see here I've got my trail. I select license, and that's it. I just switch the capacity. And now normally, if I want to run my data flow, yes, I know it's bad to use the data flow, but do what I said, know what I do. I will refresh now, and normally now it should. If I go and rest and run, yeah, you see it's in progress. So because if you try to do that when you're in throttling, it will fail directly. So what else? Okay. For the fabric chargeback reporting, I don't know, but I will have a look on that. If you don't have more question, once again, thank you for your time. I hope you learned some new stuff. It was interesting for you. And have a nice end of the day. And once again, if you have some question or you want to share stuff with me, do not hesitate to reach me on LinkedIn. So I will just show the slide with my the QR code here, and that's it. Okay, thank you, for Stefan, for the extension of the deadline. I was not sure. Okay, so thank you for your time. Have a wonderful end of day, evening, and continue to learn in the wonderful environment called Microsoft Fabric. Bye.